Alright guys, so we're going to start our very first facial feature demonstration. We're going to go through and we're going to do eyes. So the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to read through these instructions. I'm going to paraphrase them really quick. I've got 11 steps on getting the eyes done and completed. You will actually need to practice drawing both sides of the eye. Don't just all draw the right eyes or all draw left eyes. Make yourself do both. Okay? But the way you do this is you start with the circles. These circles are the iris and the pupil. They do not have to be perfect. I've told you many times before, your first circle may not be the right one. Work it until it's right. Be gentle. We'll talk about that in a second. The second step is you're going to draw the upper and lower eyelids. It should look kind of like an almond, but the truth is they don't all look the same. Eyes are different. Look at all these different eye samples I've given you. They all look like realistic eyes. They are all demonstrably different. Okay, so you draw the eyelids, but don't close it. Leave a little opening there. Okay, that opening, the inside of your eye is where your tear ducts are. You can see a little bit of musculature that causes your eyes to actually move. That area is kind of like a C or a U off to the side, so it's a slightly different shape. Your eye does not look like an almond. Please don't always draw almonds. You're going to lightly draw a rectangular shape. You remember when you said that the animal eyes were shiny? This is what makes it look shiny. You need to show a light. You need to have an area that you're not going to add any shading to. Okay, so generally speaking, it can be a square. You can do circles as well, but we're going to use a square. Lightly draw soft lines above and below the eye to create the eyelids. You have folds. Some people's folds are up really high, some people's folds are really low, some eyes are hooded, which means the lid comes down. So look at the subject. Look at the person you're drawing. If you're drawing yourself, you might want to look in a mirror. Get those lines with the eyes. Eyelashes. You guys have a tendency to draw perfectly straight lines for these eyelashes that look like something out of an old cartoon. Please don't. That's not what eyelashes look like. Excuse me. You need to leave a little space between the eyelash and the bottom lid because the skin has thickness. It's not your eyelashes don't touch your eyelid or don't touch your eyeball, so make sure they're a little bit away. Your upper lids, they fold a little bit. Okay? They should look closer to a check mark, and we'll go through that in a second. Draw more lashes. You're going to fill all the way up on the upper lid. You're not going to go all the way to the tear duct on the lower lid. Your upper lids, your upper lashes will be a little bit longer. They don't have to move in the exact same direction. Okay? They need to overlap. They need to crisscross. You're going to keep building that. Add some darker lids or add some darker lashes and build that up until you feel like it's right. Now, as far as the subject or the iris is concerned, we talked about it with the animal eyes. Your iris will be darker on the top, lighter on the bottom. So just have a slight gradient. You're going to have a darker ring around your iris, and you may have a slightly darker ring around your pupil. It's going to be according to what you see, so pay attention. But you're going to have a general shading first. Once you have the general shading, you're going to add some squiggly lines into the iris, and you're going to pretty much continue that, but you're going to also add some shading to your eyelids now. Shadows on the bottom of these sections, and then lighters on the top. Now, to actually draw that, we'll move this aside, and we are going to start on our own piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to zoom in just a little. Whee! We're going to start with the circles, just like the steps say. So we're going to loosely draw a circle. Now, that's not a perfect circle. That looks a little redonkulous, and that's okay, but we can adjust it. So we lightly draw the circle. We'll erase what we don't need. It's amazing. It's like when you have a pencil, you have these tools to use. Okay, tone that down a little bit and refine that shape to where it's mostly clean. It's not going to be perfect the first time, and that's okay. So this is a pretty decent circle. I'm going to draw the pupil. Okay, so we have our two circles. Yay! Not quite perfectly centered, but we can adjust. Oh no, it's not perfect. I want you to notice, though, how light I'm drawing. Make sure you draw light. We're going to add our upper lid. Now, the highest point of the upper lid generally is going to go right over top of the iris. That's going to be the highest point of that shape. And I'll explain why later. Okay? Your bottom lid is going to go just a little bit below your pupil. Only when people are squinting or they're smiling or things like that does it cross back over. So we're just practicing general technique for right now. So leave a little bit of space below the pupil, and we'll tie it back up here, and we'll tie it over to here. Now, it looks a lot like an almond. This is an almond. But it's not a perfect almond. It's got some extra shapes going on. Almond. I like almonds. It's got kind of these extra shapes going on. There's some curvatures and whatnot, so adjust it as needed. And every eye is going to be different. I'll draw some others in a little while. Once you have your upper lid and your lower lid, and again, you can adjust it as you need, you're going to add in your teardrops. Now you're going to have like this curved shape right here, and this letter C, backwards letter C, U shape over here. Make a little bit of an adjustment there. You're going to leave that here, just like that. I'm going to shade in, well, we're going to start with our reflection, and I'm going to do a square. Has to do with your lens. Okay, you can leave the lines inside of it for now. It's not really that big of a deal. You can go over your pupil. You can make it a small light. You can make it a big light. Doesn't really matter. We're going to fill in our pupil. Whee! Like so. Make sure you clean up those edges and make them refined. Try not to use your finger to blend. When you use your finger for blending, you end up smearing the oils in your skin all over it. It'll break down the material and make it look funky. Okay, now we're going to add an eyelid. Now in this case, I'll erase this iris out of here because I don't need it above the eyelid anymore. In this case, I want the eyelid to kind of resemble mine. Now I have a higher eyelid, kind of closes a little bit earlier. Yours may not. Look at your person. So there's my upper lid, lower lid, because you do have some skin that reflects over there, okay? And it's okay if it's a little bit messy. It's not a big deal. Now we're going to start with eyelashes. Remember what I said about this thing? Please don't draw eyelashes like that. No one has eyelashes that look like this, okay? What we're going to draw are a series of curvy check marks, and they could be different directions. In fact, they should be different directions. They should all start at the same spot. So we're going to start here on the outside edge. We're going to draw these curvy check marks. Now I'm doing a slightly more female eye, so we'll pretend that she's groomed these up a little bit. Draw down into the eye a little bit, and then back out. Now notice that I'm going in different directions. They're not all the exact same. And when I flip to the other side of the eye, I'm going to rotate them towards the end. See how some of them are starting to form like little triangles and whatnot? And they're overlapping. That means that they're crossing over top of each other. That's okay. Eyelashes actually do that. So that would be how you get the upper lid. For the lower lid, I'm going to clean this line up a little bit. Okay, kind of soften that line up a little bit. My eyelashes are actually going to start a little bit away. They're not as long. There's not as many in the lower lid as there are in the upper. Once again, they do cross over. They're a lot thinner over by the tear duct, so don't go crazy. And they do cross in multiple directions. So make sure you've got a couple crisscrossers, because that's what makes it look real. You want realistic, let those eyelashes cross. You leave a little bit of a gap. This is called the water line for those ladies who watch makeup tutorials. Okay, so you're going to fully do the eyelashes. Don't take it all the way to the end over here. The upper lid can be a little bit thicker and a little bit longer. And that's how we approach that. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so we have our eyelashes, upper lid and lower lid. We do not draw them so that they're perfect lines. You're not drawing this thing. We're not drawing cartoons here, people. We're looking for realistic eyes. So this is a no-no. This is a no-no. You want little check marks that go in a variety of directions, generally in the same way, but they're crisscrossing. Whee! All right, so that's what we've got. The next step is we're going to start shading the eye. Just like I said with the animal eye, guys, it's going to be darker on the top. And practice this on a separate sheet of paper if you're not sure how to do it. It's going to get lighter towards the bottom, darker towards the top, lighter towards the bottom. Okay, you kind of want to have like this kidney bean shape in the bottom of the eye here, where it's nice and light. I'm going to darken up here a little bit more because for me it's not dark enough yet. Take your time. Make sure you're blending it smoothly. Don't use your finger. Use the freaky pencil to blend that smoothly. Okay? And just like I said, you're going to make... Okay. Remember what I said. You're going to need a darker circle for the outside of your iris. Make sure that's just a little bit darker. Nope, I went a little nuts there. Oh no, look at that extra line. Oh my gosh, it's like I have an eraser and everything. Oh no, I have to reshade. Oh my gosh, it's like I have the pencil in my hand. I can totally reshade that. There we go. Alright, so it's not perfectly fixed, but oh well. So I have a slightly darker line outside. We have, like I said, darker on the top, lighter on the bottom. You can actually make a slightly darker ring around your pupil if you want. Okay, have all that up there. The next thing we're going to do is a series of squiggly lines coming from the outside in. Now they don't have to be too dark. It's kind of like spokes on a bicycle. Okay, you can have them come from the outside, or from the pupil in and from the inside out. And you're just going to draw a series of light squiggly lines going generally like spokes of a wheel. And their shapes can be perfectly straight. They could be a little bit more squiggly. They could be a lot squiggly. Yeah, give yourself a variety. The more variety that you have, the more realistic it's going to look. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple little light lines right here. Kind of pass that through. Make it a little bit darker on the outside edge so it blends a little bit more. A little darker on the outside edge so it blends a little bit more. And just kind of play with it. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. You're really just looking for the illusion of realism. Okay? The very next step is we need to add some actual shading to our eye. Now, the upper eyelid is above, so this bad boy will actually have a little bit of a shadow underneath your eye. Right there, because it's a sphere. A little bit of shadow over here, wee, underneath the eyelashes. If you're feeling really, really finicky, you're feeling like you can pull this off, you can actually lightly draw some sort of a reflection. Okay, I'm going to reinforce this line and make it a little bit darker for right now. We'll say she's wearing eyeliner. I want this shadow to come down and just kind of round out towards the bottom because, again, it's a sphere, so you have to shade it kind of like a sphere. I'm going to do the same thing over here and have a little bit of the shadow come down. Okay? As far as this is concerned, honest to goodness, guys, you want a little bit of a shadow on the top, a little bit of a shadow on the bottom, and then just some random squiggly shadow towards the middle. That's literally it. A little bit of shadow on the top, a little bit of shadow on the bottom, soft, and just a shadow in the middle. Okay? For the eyelids, and I want you to notice how I'm holding the pencil, okay? I'm holding it sideways, and I'm blending with the broad end of my pencil lead. I'm going to follow my eyelid line. Girls, y'all put on makeup, some of y'all. You know how it works. Okay? You can soften that out. I'm using a finger at the moment. You can use one of the blenders at the front table. Okay, you can use the broad end of the pencil. There are ways to shade. In fact, I would prefer you to try shading like this, where you just kind of add in lines slowly. But that's how you draw a realistic eye. And that's it. It's that easy. I went kind of slow. You guys can do it. Get going.